Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, Text 19. Dayaya sarvabhuteshu santusya yena kenava sarvendriyopashantya cha tushyanti asu janardana. Translation. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or other, and controlling the senses from sense enjoyment, one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana. Purport. These are some of the ways in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be satisfied by the devotee. The first item mentioned is Dayaya Sarva Bhuteshu, showing mercy to all conditioned souls. The best way to show mercy is to spread Krishna consciousness. The entire world is suffering for want of this knowledge. People should know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of everything. Knowing this, everyone should directly engage in devotional service. Those who are actually learned, advanced in spiritual understanding, should preach Krishna consciousness all over the world so that people may take it to make their life successful. The word Sarva Bhuteshu is significant because it applies not only to human beings but to all the living entities appearing in the 8,400,000 species of life. The devotee can do good not only to humanity but to all living entities as well. Everyone can benefit spiritually by chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. When the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna is sounded, even the trees, animals, and insects benefit. Thus, when one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra loudly, he actually shows mercy to all living entities. To spread the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the world, the devotee should be satisfied in all conditions. Narayana para sarve na kaschana bhiveti swargapavarga narkeshu api tulyartha darshina. It does not matter to the pure devotee if he has to go to hell to preach. The Supreme Lord lives in the heart of a hawk, although the Lord is in Vaikuntha. Even while preaching in hell, a pure devotee remains a pure devotee by his constant association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To attain this state, one has to control his senses. The senses are automatically controlled when one's mind is engaged in the service of the Lord. ओम अज्ञानातिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मायं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं देहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखामितांश्च हे कृष्णा परकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कंत राधा कंत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So, very important verse. I think one of the highlight verse of this chapter. Dayaya sarva bhuteshu santushya yena kenava sarvendriyopashantya cha tushyanti asu janardana. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or other, and controlling the senses from sense enjoyment, one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, a few points are here. In order to please Krishna, the Supreme Lord, one has to first show mercy to all living entities, dayaya sarva bhuteshu, santushta yena kenava, be satisfied somehow or other, and then uh, the other one is what? Sarvendriyo Upashanta, controlling the senses. So, three ways to satisfy the Lord. You have to show mercy to all living entities. You have to be somehow or other contented with your position, not over endeavoring for material things, and also controlling the senses, doing tapasya and refraining from sense enjoyment. So when we do all these three things, we will automatically please the Supreme Lord, Janardana. And what happens when we please the Lord? We attain the highest goal of life, which is transcendental service. So actually, we are, all of us are entrapped in this material world. We are all covered by Maya. Why are we in Maya? First, we have to understand. So we will see this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shri Shuka Uvacha Atmamayamrite Rajan Parasyanu Bhavatmanaha Nagate Tartha Sambandha Swapna Darastur Ivanjasa. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like a dreamer seeing his own body. So, what I wanted to show actually the purport, where Prabhupada is explaining very nicely. The spirit soul is distinct from the material conception of life, but is absorbed in such material conception because of being influenced by the external energy of the Lord called Atma Maya. So actually we belong to the spiritual world, and now we are entrapped in the material world, covered by Atma Maya. This has already been explained in the first canto in connection with in Vyasadeva realization of the Supreme Lord and his external energy. The external energy is controlled by the Lord, and the living entities are controlled by the external energy, by the will of the Lord. Therefore, although the living entity is purely conscious of his pure state, he is subordinate to the will of the Lord, being influenced by the external energy. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15, also the same thing is confirmed. The Lord is present within the heart of every living entity, and all living entities' consciousness and forgetfulness are influenced by the Lord. So now the question comes. So we know that now we are trapped by the Maya energy. The next question automatically made by the will, why the Lord influences the living entity to forget, to consciousness and forgetfulness. So why are we in this forgetfulness in the first place? How come we have forgotten our relationship with the Lord? Why are we trapped by this Maya, Atma Maya? So the answer is the Lord clearly wishes that the living entity to be in his pure consciousness as a part and parcel of the Lord, and thus be engaged in the loving service of the Lord as he is constitutionally made. But because the living entity is partially independent also, he may not be willing to serve the Lord, but may try to become independent as the Lord's is. So this is why we are actually meant for the service of the Lord. We are pure part and parcel of the Lord. But because we are not willing to be serving him, the Lord puts us into this Maya condition. All non-devotee living entities are desirous of becoming equally powerful as the Lord, although they are not fit to become so. The living entities are illusioned by the will of the Lord because they wanted to become like him. So we want to become God. We want to be a competitor of God, of Krishna in the spiritual world. So the example Prabhupada gives here, like a person who thinks of becoming a king without possessing the necessary qualification, when the living entity desires to become the Lord himself, he is put into a condition of dreaming that he is a king. So we cannot be the king. So what the Lord does is some sort of like a matrix. He puts you into illusion, okay, now you are the king. So like that we first come down as Brahma. We think we are the king of this universe. We are lording over that universe. And we had so much of illusion always trying to lord over the material nature. You see, Prabhupada gave an example. In the kitchen, sometimes you see so many ants. So ant is walking, and just when you put a finger like that, somehow or other ant will not try to go across the finger. He doesn't want to be entrapped by you. So everybody is somehow trying their best to be not controlled by material nature. We are trying our best to be not overcome by material nature. That's why the scientists are creating so many inventions. Oh, we need to spend to go to space. We need to do this. Why? The whole idea is to be not be entrapped, to be the king. But the problem is we are not the king. We are actually servant of the Lord. And now the Lord actually created a dreamlike condition where we think we are the king. You know, all of us are thinking we are the king of what we are doing. The Prabhupada said, you are thinking you are the Lord of all I survey. Just like, the Alexander. He thought he was a great king. He conquered so much of the world. But he died so early at 32 years old. He never died in the battlefield by some small disease. He was conquering, killing so many people, but one small mosquito killed. But he was intelligent. He said he wanted to show the world that I'm not taking anything with me when I die. When he said, you carry my coffin, you show my bare hands. So he's showing to the world that we are never the conqueror. We are always the conquered. Death always conquers us, no matter how great we are. Like Prahlad Maharaj was saying, no matter how great my father, he's raising his eyebrow, everybody is afraid of him. But in a few seconds you finished him. So there's an illusion to think that we are the kings. You see, so therefore the first sinful will of the living entity is to become the Lord, and consequent will of the Lord is that the living entities forget his factual life. So this is a very important point. The first sinful activity we did was to think that I want to become God, which is a bit different from the Bible version. The Bible says that Adam and Eve, so they were living in the Garden of Eden, and then they had this forbidden apple, and then that's the first sin, and then everybody fell down. They fell down, and all of us are, because of their fault, we are here. No, so every individual living entity has its independence. We are not here because of Adam and Eve, because each of us wanted to eat that forbidden apple of being God. You see, so that the living entity forget his factual life and does dream of the land of utopia, where he may become one like the Lord. So another nice example Prabhupada is giving here. A child cries to have a moon from the mother, and the mother gives the child a mirror to satisfy the crying and disturbing child with the reflection of the moon. So you are the child, like Krishnavi, Hare Krishna, they are crying, I want the moon, I want the moon. How you can give the moon? Is it possible? But the father, mother, they are very smart. They take the reflection of the mirror and then they show the moon. See, you have the moon in your hands now. So the child is thinking, I have the moon, I'm the controller of the moon. But that is not what's happening. You see? So we are fooled like that in the material nature. Similarly, that crying child of the Lord is given over the reflection, the material world, to lord over as a karmi, and to give it up in frustration and become one with the Lord. Both these stages are dreaming illusion. So we try our best to enjoy this world, to be controller of this world. And and that's called karmi. And when that fails, we think that, what's the point? Nothing is giving me happiness. Why not I become one with God? Again the same disease. That's the disease of the jnani. Both are illusion and both are filled with desire and lust. So it is karma. It's not our karma. Moksha karma also. Desiring to get moksha. Both these stages are dreaming. That means to be a karmi and to be a jnani. To desire for sarva kama or moksha kama, both of them are illusion. Unless you are akama, which is a devotee. There is no necessity for tracing out the history of when the living entity desired this, but the fact that as soon as he desired, he was put under the control of Atma Maya by the direction of the Lord. Therefore, the living entity material condition is dreaming falsely that this is mine and I. Okay, so basically this is now our current condition. So now what is it? How does this relate to our verse today? So in order to save the living entity, what the Lord does, the Lord is so compassionate. Dayaya. To save the living entity, the Lord, I will see this verse here. Yaya samhogitam jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manute nartam tat kritam chabi patyate. Due to external energy, the living entity, although transcendental three modes of material nature, thinks himself as a material product and thus undergoes reaction of material material. So in this purport, there's one very nice statement Prabhupada makes here. Uh, okay, so the Lord, He wants you to be not suffering in this material world. Firstly, you have a disease. Your disease is you want to be God. You have committed the first sin of wanting to be God. So you are entrapped in this material world. So here it says that the Lord does not interfere with the task of the illusory energy because such performance of illusory energy are also necessary for the reformation. So His mercy is also to put us into this Maya. So we are in Maya, but that is actually the mercy of the Lord to correct us. Like now, if a person, see, an affectionate father does not like his children to be chastised by another agent, yet he puts his disobedient child under the custody of severe men just to bring them to order. So let's say your child is very naughty, you don't want to listen. Sometimes you have to use your uncle. Like I had a police uncle. So he punished me one time that I had to stand in one corner. And then I stand there for so many hours, I urinated there also. But when I see him, I'm afraid. Okay, if I see, my mother will complain to him. He's a police. I better behave myself. So this is also mercy of the Lord. We are supposed to enjoy with Him, but we are separated now. So He said, okay, let me put this person into Maya, put him into prison, into correction to save him. So we must understand that. So you see here now Prabhupada makes the statement. But the all affectionate Almighty Father at the same time desires relief for the conditioned soul, relief from the clutches of illusory energy. The king puts his disobedient citizen within the walls of the jail, but sometimes the king is desiring the prisoner's relief, personally goes there and pleads for reformation. So even though the king put you in the jail, even though the Lord put you in the jail, He is coming. One level of mercy is He put you in the jail for your mistakes, to correct you. Another level of mercy is He Himself comes to the jail to help you. Who will do that? Huh? He pleads for the reformation, and when the prisoner reform, they are set free. Similarly, the Supreme Lord descends from His kingdom to the kingdom of the illusory energy and personally gives relief in the form of Bhagavad Gita. So He came to give this Bhagavad Gita to relieve us. So two levels of mercy we are seeing here. See, wherein He personally suggests that although the ways of the illusory energy are very stiff to overcome, one who surrenders onto the lotus feet of the Lord is set free by the order of the Supreme. This surrendering process is the remedial measure for getting relief from the bewildering way of the illusory energy. The surrendering process is completed by the influence of the association. You see? So this is what we can understand here, that the Lord has done two different things now. You see? He put you in the jail, and at the same time His mercy also. That's why they say the Lord is equal to everything, everybody. He putting you into Maya, He's equal to save you. He punishing you. He punishing, like a parent punishing the child, it is mercy. But at the same time, the parent wants the child to be a good boy, right? So two level of mercy the Lord is showing to us. So now the next point is, we go back to the verse, Dayaya Sarva Bhuteshu. So now we understand what is the mercy. We understand that the mercy of the Lord is to put us into the punishment, and at the same time to save us from punishment. So Dayaya Sarva Bhuteshu means, if anyone who follows this instruction of the Lord, who sees the heart of the Lord, okay, the Lord wants to correct this and save these lost souls, and He also participates in helping them. He helps the Lord. He doesn't help the Lord doesn't need help, but he takes up the job of the Lord to save these fallen conditioned souls, and that is mercy. You see? So what He does, see here. This is the verse. Yes, 353. Oh my Lord, great philanthropic souls travel on the earth on behalf of the Supreme Personality Godhead to show compassion, dayaya, to the fallen souls who are averse to the sense of subordination. So we are averse. We don't want to surrender to the Lord. So He takes up the career. We say career, I want to do this career, I want to be an engineer. But he takes up this career of helping the soul to understand that you are now not surrendering to the Lord. You will be happy when you surrender to the Lord. Please surrender to the Lord. That's simply what he does. That is why he is very pleasing to the Lord. Janardana become very happy with him because he takes up the job of pleasing the Lord by preaching the holy name. So we have seen so many pure devotees done this. Prabhupada has done this. He can stay in Vrindavan nicely. But because of so much of compassion in his heart for the living entities who are suffering, he went to America at the age of 69, suffering 2 heart attacks, with nothing in his hands. Nothing. Practically nothing, No money. 40 rupees. How much trouble he went through just to save the fallen conditioned soul. And because he did that, the Lord is very pleased with him. Because he's helping the Jiva soul to understand that you are in Maya, please come out of this Maya. That's why you see the verse here in Bhagavad Gita, it says, 1868, Ya idam paramam guyam madbhaktesho vidashati bhaktim mahi param kritva mam evashyati asamsaya. For one who explained this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. In the end, he will come back to me. And then in the next verse, Naja tasman manusyeshu kashtin me priyakritama bhavita nachame tasmad anya priyataro bhuhi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there be one more dear. So he becomes the most dearest servant of the Lord by preaching, by helping the souls. And also if we see in this verse 1867, Krishna makes a very interesting point. Krishna says, Idam tena tapakshaya na bhaktaya kadachana na cha susrave vakyam na cha mamyo vyashuyati. Krishna says this confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service. So today also we saw 3 things. He is not merciful. He is envious. If he is envious of him means he has no mercy. Right? There's no daya. If somebody is envious, how he can have daya? If you are so envious, you are killing animals, you are killing so many living entities, how there is mercy in your heart? There's no compassion in your heart. If you are not austere, that means Krishna also said today, if you are not controlling your senses, indriyo pashanta, if you are not controlling your senses, you are not austere, you cannot understand this. So, and then if you are not devoted also, you cannot understand this. So Krishna says, you don't explain to the people who are like that. And everybody in the world is like that, right? So even though Krishna came to show his mercy, he also had conditions. You cannot do this. But the pure devotee breaks these rules. And Prabhupada went to America, who was austere there? Who was devoted there? Who was engaging in devotional service? Nobody. But he went there. So this is why Prabhupada said in the lecture, one of the lecture, the Guru has 2 business. The one business is to make them give up sense gratification, make them devoted, make them austere. And another business is to, to give them Krishna Prem. So he had 2 things to do. He first had to correct them, reform them, and then here he is giving them Krishna Prem. Which is also what our 6 Goswamis did, right? What is that song? Tyaktva Turnamaseša Mandalapati Senim Sada Tuchava Bhutva Dina Ganesha Karunaya Gopina Kantashito Gopi Bhavara Shamrata Ilahari Kallola Maknor Muhur Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. So they were great Mandalapatis. They were great ministers. Even the King Indra is envious of their wealth, like that, But Tyaktva Turnamaseša Mandalapati. They renounced everything. They gave up everything. And what they did? Sada Tuchava. Like this material thing was not even valuable to them. They spit it out. Like some garbage. Bhutva Dina Ganesha Karunayo Kopina Kantasvito. They were wearing some kopin only. And they were showing mercy to all the living entities. Gopi Bhava Rashamrita. Then they spend so much of time writing these Vedic literatures, these books, to save us. Lord Chaitanya. So basically, what they did, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give mercy to the living entities, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only spoke the Sisastakam, that's all. He came here to experience Krishna Prem and to give us the Hare Krishna mantra, to also experience this Krishna Prem. But how to systematically do it? The knowledge is given by the 6 Goswamis. So these 6 Goswamis, they renounced everything, they gave up everything, surrendered everything for our purpose, for our sake. And they wrote so many immense literature just to convince us to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is mercy. What the Goswamis did, what Srila Prabhupada did, what the Acharyas are doing. This is extreme mercy on the living entities. Even Krishna is not giving that mercy. Of course, we know Krishna is so merciful. But we saw earlier that he had condition, don't preach to the faithless. But here, Prabhupada is preaching to the faithless. He's converting those faithless people to come under the shelter of the Lord. So if you do that, then automatically you are getting the satisfaction of the Lord. See another verse here. Yad Brajamanam Swa Ruchaiva Sarvato Lokastrayo Hi Anu Vibrajantate Chantrite Jannavrarajan Chantu Suye Anugraha Brajanti Bhadrani Charanti Nisham. The self-effulgent Vaikuntha planet, by whose illumination alone all illuminating planets within this material world give off reflected light, cannot be reached by those who are not merciful to other living entities. See again, you cannot reach Vaikuntha if you do not also follow the footsteps of the pure devotees and preach. If we do not engage in preaching activities, we cannot go there. We don't follow the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada and the devotees following strictly the orders of Prabhupada, we cannot. Only a person who engages in the welfare activities of other living entities can reach Vaikuntha planets. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan. So unless we engage in the welfare activity of reclaiming these fallen souls, this only will save us. This will only allow us to attain the planet of Vaikuntha. You see? So many people, so there are also many devotees like that. They say, I know Krishna, I am chanting Hare Krishna mantra, I am reading, I am doing my sadhana, but I am not so interested to preach. So this is a reminder that if we don't preach, somehow we are not showing dayaya sarva bhuteshu. That means we are not doing preaching activities, we are not helping others, we will be entrapped in this material world somehow. Maya will still somehow get over us. But if we work for the welfare, that's why it is said in also Chaitanya Charitamrita, what happens? The purport of this verse of Gundicha Marjan, the Lord, it's a very long purport actually, but the word Jiva Himsa, down some. Is it here? Still down. Okay, so here, the word Jiva Himsa, envy of other living entities, actually means stopping preaching Krishna consciousness. So let's say you are a devotee, right? You're following all regulatory principles, very good. But somehow if we don't preach, we are still having this envy in our heart to not help others. So Prabhupada wrote here that when you stop preaching of Krishna consciousness, preaching work is described as paropakara, welfare activity for others. Those who are ignorant of benefit of devotional service must be educated of preaching. If one stops preaching and simply sits down in a solitary place, he engages in material activity. So this is what happens. If you do not engage in this preaching or assist the devotees also who are preaching, you just want to do your own thing, then eventually we will somehow be entangled in material activity. You know. So these are the points. And another point we can make is we also see the Dayaya Sarva Bhuteshu in the person of Prahlad Maharaj. प्रायेण देवमुनया स्वमुक्तिकामा मौनं चरन्ति विज्ञान पार्थनिष्ठ नैतान् विहाय कृपणा विमुक्ष एको नान्यं त्वदस्य शरणं ब्रह्मतोनुपश्ये. Prahlad Maharaj said in 7944, "My dear Lord Narasimhadev, I see there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mauna Vrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to your shelter." So this is called Paradukka Dukki. You see? Paradukka Dukki means one who he Prahlad Maharaj said, I have no unhappiness. I am not suffering. There's nothing that makes me unhappy, but I am unhappy seeing others unhappy. This is a pure devotee. So earlier he says that Prayena Deva Munaya Swamukti Kama. So the people who are going to the Himalayas to meditate in Maunavarta, they are doing their sadhana and all, yeah. But I don't want to be like them. He said, I want to actually be in the cities and help all these people, these rascals and fools, who have forgotten Krishna. Because he says here, without the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, one cannot be happy. He's very clear about this. I want to share this happiness with others. So I am unhappy by seeing others unhappy. Whereas people like Duryodhana, they are very envious. They are happy to see other people unhappy. Like you saw in the story where the Pandavas, even though they are in the Vanavas, still he has to give them trouble. Still he has to send Durvasa Muni to do some funny thing. Always trying to plan some. Even there's no peace of mind for him. So much of envy in the heart. You see? So we should not be like that. We should be like Prahlad Maharaj. And we can see also another verse in the 8th canto where the churning of the milk ocean, all the demigods and devatas, they are churning the ocean, right? Okay, so this is spoken by Lord Shiva. So they are churning the ocean of milk, the demons and demigod, and then the poison is coming out. So much of poison, and all of them are suffering, the devatas, the demons also. And then what Lord Shiva did, he spoke this verse, Tapyante loka tapena sadva prayasho jana paramaradhanam tadhi purushashyai akilatmanam. Lord Shiva says, it is said that great personality almost always accept voluntary suffering because of the suffering of people in general. So for the people in general who are suffering, the pure devotee takes their suffering, just like what Haridas Thakur did, just like what Jesus Christ also did. This is considered the highest method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present in everyone's heart. So Lord Shiva says, the highest way of you can worship the Supreme Lord is by taking the suffering of others, by be so merciful to preach the holy name of the Lord. When you do that, you are doing the greatest Aradhanaram Sarvesha Vishnu Aradhanam Param. Of course, that is another verse Lord Shiva spoke. So in this chapter, we actually see, in the previous verses, actually you can see that Lord Shiva, if you go to from chapter 37, text 37 onwards, Lord Shiva is speaking here. Lord Shiva says here that, Srila Sukadev Goswami continued, Lord Shiva is always benevolent towards all living entities. When he saw the living entities were very much disturbed by the poison which was spreading everywhere, he was very compassionate, and thus he spoke to his eternal consort Sati as follows. So he saw everybody suffering. Then what he did, my dear Bhavani, just see how all these living entities have been placed in danger because of the poison produced from the churning of the ocean of milk. It is my duty to give protection and safety to all living entities struggling for their existence. Certainly, it is the duty of the master to protect his suffering dependents. People in general, bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality Godhead, are always engaged in animosity towards one another. But devotees, even at the risk of own temporary lives, try to save them. Yeah. So the devotees are, in the they don't need to stay in this material world and suffer, but they come to this material world to save us. And then Lord Shiva says, "My dear gentle wife Bhavani, when one performs benevolent activities for others, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari is very pleased." So today's verse, Janardana is pleased when we do this compassion and work of preaching to others and helping others. And when the Lord is pleased, I am also pleased, along with all living entities. Again, another point. When the Lord is pleased, everybody is pleased. You see? So it's a circle. You please the Lord by preaching. The Lord is pleased. He makes everyone pleased. So everybody is happy, right? Instead of the suffering we are experiencing now in this world, everybody is displeased. So therefore, let me drink this poison, for all the living entities may thus become happy because of me. So he went and saved everyone by drinking the poison. And of course, you saw the verse just now, verse 44, how by taking the suffering of the living entities, you are pleasing the Lord the most. So this is the purpose of a pure devotee, that he is there just for the sake of helping the living entities. So now going back to the verse, I think we are almost done. So three things, right? Dayaya Sarvabhut, we have covered the part of mercy, showing mercy, being satisfied somehow or other, controlling the senses. So we cannot just say, I want to be preaching, but we are not ourselves controlling our senses. Nothing we speak will make, nobody will listen. If I am smoking, I ask somebody to stop smoking, will he listen? So we have to have very strong sadhana. We have to control our senses. We have to do tapasya. Then we can be able to engage in this compassionate work of preaching. It's not something where you can just say, I am a preacher. You have to, live the life of a preacher. You have to be, so that's why Krishna says in the Gita as well, in 264, he says here, Ragadvesha vimuktastu vishayan indriyascharan atmayasher vidayatma prasadam adhikachate. See the word? Vishayan indriyascharan. You are able to control your senses. Atmayasher vidayatma prasadam adhikachate. Krishna says, a person who is free from all attachment and aversion, ragadvesha vimuktastu, able to control vishayan indriyascharan. How he controls his senses? Atmayasher vidayatma, by regulative principles, by following these 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, chanting 16 rounds, waking up for Mangalarati, taking only prasadam. When you do all these things, can obtain the complete mercy. Prasadam adhikachati. You obtain the mercy of the Lord. So again, you get the mercy of the Lord, then you can engage in the dāya sarvabhuteshu. You can distribute the mercy of the Lord by preaching. So everything is connected. And final verse, of course, the very famous verse, everybody knows this, spoken by Rishabhadev, where he speaks about what we should do. So many classes Prabhupada has given on this verse, you see. Nayam Rishabha was Nayam deho dehabaj nirloke kashtan kaham arhate vid pujam ye tapo divyam putshaka ye nasatvam sutye yashmad brahma shaukyam tuvanantam. Lord Rishabhadev told his son, my dear boys, of all living entities who have accepted material bodies in this material world, one who has been awarded the human form of life should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which are available even for the dogs and hawks that eat stool. So human life should not be wasted for sense gratification. One should engage in penance and austerity. So he says that you have to control your senses. To attain the divine position of devotional service, only after that, by doing penance and then after that also doing devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified And when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and continues. Then you get true happiness by doing this, by controlling your senses, by engaging in devotional service. You attain eternal blissful life, and also preaching and spreading this message to others. You please Krishna, and by pleasing Krishna, you are also happy. So this is how it works. So I think there is no other points to cover. If there's anything else, anything else to add to this, our questions? Uh, 3:25 day, 21. So of course there's other verses. तितिक्षवा कारुणिक सुहृद सर्वदेहिनाम अजात्र छात्रव शांत साधव साधुभूषण. The symptoms of a sadhu, that he is tolerant, merciful, friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies, he is peaceful, he abides by scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Ajatra Satrava. He has no enemies. Paradukka Dukhi. He is very tolerant, merciful. So all these are the qualities also of a sadhu. And we have to follow in their footsteps and also try our best to also preach. Like in this verse, if I'm not wrong, I hope I'm right. No, not this one. Okay, yeah, I think this is the one. In this verse, in the Prabhupada makes a point that um, okay, yeah. So he says here, there are different grades of Vaishnavas. Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Uttamadhikari. But to be Madhyamadhikari preacher, one must be a learned scholar in Vedanta Sutra and other Vedic literature. Because when bhakti develops on the basis of Vedanta philosophy, it is factual and steady. So basically, he's saying that we have to at least come to the Madhyama Adhikari platform. We have to understand the scriptures, we have to follow the regulative principles, and we have to also, Madhyama Adhikari actually engages in preaching activity. Whereas if you are in the Kanishta platform, as we know, we will fall down. Any other things? I think yesterday you shared, right, in the group. Yeah, very nice weather. My dear King Yudhishthira, the Brahmanas, especially those engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord throughout the entire world, are recognized and worshipped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is in the heart and soul of all creation. The Brahmanas, by their preaching, sanctify the three worlds with the dust of their lotus feet, and thus they are worshipable even for Krishna. Very nice verse. 7, 14, 42. 10. And then my Lord, great devotees, person like you, move from one place to another place, not for their own interest, but for the sake of poor-hearted grihastha householders. Otherwise, they have no interest in going from one place to another. This is the position of a pure devotee, Dhyaya Sarva Bhuteshu. So let's try our best to actually follow in their footsteps and take up this preaching task as well. Eight what? 8744. The purport. Oh yeah.
actually to think about others. Usually people are actually just thinking about their own problems. They have no time to think about any other. So first of all, they must be completely satisfied. Only then they can start to think about others. So for that, that's why Sarvendriya Upashantiyacha must happen. Then he's already satisfied in all his sensory activities and mental activities. Then, uh, then he can be Santushta Yanakeva. Therefore, I think the last one, Sarvendriya Upashantiyacha. We all, in order to even show mercy to others, the Vacho Vegam, Manasa Growth Vegam. So one has to control his senses, only then he can actually reach. And then Santushta Yanakeva. Actually, there's a sixth chapter, 7, 8, 9 verses in Bhagavad Gita. Because if you want to preach to others, you have to go to all kind of places. Like Prabhupada went to America and he had to be satisfied wherever he was, he could get a residence.
Is it 617? No,
6,
not this.
7, 6, 7.
No, Vitahara. No.
So if Santushta be happy however some or other. So some or other in any place to be happy. There is first 6, 7. There are three things actually. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sitosna Sukha Dukkha Dukkeshu.
So,
Translation. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already rich, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are the same.
so understand environments, all these conditions.
Mm.
Then the next verse, 6, 8 also, Access 9, 6, 8. He's very satisfied.
Kutusto Vijendriya Yukta iti uchate yogi Samalostrasma Kanchana. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendent and in self-control. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same.
So whether it's opulent residence or nothing, you can be always happy. Then in anywhere you go, there are people. So the next verse is about the people. How to choose people. So then with
Udasin, neutral. Madhyashtadevasha bandhasu sadhusu api cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, and neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with equal mind.
so people around, concerning people, place and situations, he's always satisfied. Santushta Previous actually.
Mm.
And it is, unless one's senses are under control, he cannot be happy anywhere and everywhere. And unless he's in their platform, he cannot actually show the it's like,
So can they hear you in the camera? No, right? So Tattviru made many wonderful points. Because I only touch on mostly the Dayaya Sarvabhuteshu, but he's talking about how the sense control and also he's fully satisfied. So these verses you can look at 6 Bhagavad Gita 6, 7, 8 and 9. And unless somebody is fully, like he made a point, unless fully satisfied, he cannot go out there to preach to others, because everybody is only thinking how to solve our own problems. But somebody is going out to solve other problem means he has fully reached full satisfaction. Atmaramascha munayo, he's fully Atmarama. That's why he's able to go out and help others as well, like Sukadev Goswami did. You know, 7943. Naibod Vijay Pada. So we'll see. Yeah, so Prahlad Maharaj made the same point that he himself is satisfied. So that's why he is feeling other people's unhappiness. नैव द्विजये परधुरत्र वैतरन्यस्तद्वीर वीर्यज्ञान गयान महामित्र मग्नचित्त सोचे ततो विमुक्तचेतस इन्द्रियार्थ मायाशुकं भरं वतो विमुधान. O best of the great personalities, I'm not at all afraid of material existence or whatever. Wherever I stay, I'm fully absorbed in the thoughts of glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I'm simply concerned with love for them. So, because he is fully satisfied, right, in devotional service of the Lord, fully able to control his senses, he was able to feel for the pain of others, and that's why he's saying in the next verse, I want to stay in the city and then help them, I can. So that's why, like Tatribu also made a point that Prabhupada, even though he went to the most America in 1970, where it was such a hippie society, so much Maya, but he was not conquered by their. I mean, he did not fall down to them, their sense gratification activities. In fact, he purified them. And that's a sign of a pure devotee, that he's able to help them give up their sinful activities, which is very difficult for any normal person to do. You know. So he's the person Bhagavatam as well. There's Bhagavatam, the book, and he's also the living Bhagavatam. And because he's the living Bhagavatam, he's able to give Bhagavatam to the others. You know. So yeah.
Actually, one thing I forgot. The 6, 7, 8, 9, 7, happiness and distress, gold and hate. This is actually the diagram. Then pebble, stone and gold. That's Adhyatmic. Like 5, see this as different. And then the 6, 9, it's others. The bhautik. So if I, so Adhyatmic as well as diagram. If one can be satisfied under all the kinds of, because these things are always troubling us. So Sarfala soul is always satisfied in any of those conditions. What is that? Vishwapurna Sukhaya. Yeah.
Okay. So another verse here, 14 on 7. 7. This is the one. 5 to 7.
7, 17 or 7, 17.
Uh, Those who are without any desire for personal sense gratification, whose mind are always attached to me, who are peaceful, without false ego, and merciful to all living entities, and whose consciousnesses are never affected by opportunities for sense gratification. Such person enjoy in me a happiness that cannot be known or achieved by those lacking detachment from the material world. Yeah, again, bringing all together the Bhagavad Gita 6, 7, and 9 in one verse now. So maybe you should do a similar class again.
525.
Yeah, 525 Bhagavad Gita. Self-satisfied.
Then first for others and then go back to God.
Okay. So anyway,
Is there any questions you can see
how do I see that?
the, that comment somewhere down below?
Fifth one on the right.
Yeah. Is there anything?
I could not hear. I don't know. So anyway, there's no questions. Yeah. Yeah. My dear Lord, 3:21:20, although it is not your desire, you manifest this creation of gross and subtle animals just for our sensual satisfaction. Let your causeless mercy be upon us, for you have appeared before us in your eternal form, adorned with splendid wreath of tulasi leaves. It is clearly stated that the material world is not created by the personal will of the Supreme Lord. It is created by the external energy because the living entities want to enjoy it. This material world is not created for those who do not want to enjoy sense gratification, who constantly remain in transcendental loving service, and who are eternally Krishna conscious. For them, the spiritual world is eternally existing, and they enjoy the. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, it stated that those who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personal Godhead, this material world is useless because this material world is full of danger at every step. It is not meant for devotees but for living entities who want to lord it over material nature at their own risk. Krishna is so kind that he allows the sense gratification living entities, a separate world created by him to enjoy as they like. Yet at the same time he appears in his personal form. The Lord willingly creates this material world. The Lord unwillingly creates this material world but he descends in personal form or sends. So this is the same thing we read in the 2.9 as well. Sends one of his reliable sons or servant or a reliable author like Vyasadeva to give instructions. He himself also interprets the speeches of Bhagavad Gita. His propaganda work goes on side by side with the creation to convince the misguided living entities who are rotting in the material world to come back to him and surrender unto him. Therefore, the last instruction of Bhagavad Gita is this: give up all your manufactured engagement in material world and just surrender unto me. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. Excellent purport actually. Okay, so there's nothing else. So this mission of the Lord is always continuous. Just like there was a question asked to Haridas Thakur by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was having a discussion with him. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are preaching and chanting and you are making everyone devotee, and if everybody go back to God, what will happen to the material world? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked this kind of question. And Haridas Thakur said, no, my Lord. Just like how when you were Ramachandra, you brought everybody back to Vaikuntha, right? But then you again filled the universe with newer living entities who have this sinful mindset. So this is always ongoing. So you see, even if the whole universe, everybody goes back by chanting Hare Krishna, new candidates will come back to this material world. New criminals will come. And we have to continuously again come and preach and do our activity,
It's like the prisoners thinking jail, they all become the good
Jail and giving salary to jail.
So this is an ongoing, ongoing work of compassion of the Lord, Daya, that He comes with His devotees, sends back one batch, another batch will come, newer students are coming, then newer again, So this is what's happening. So anyway, now we are in this current batch now. I don't know number what. So let's try to just get out of here and also assist the Lord in this. Assist our spiritual master Prabhupada and the pure devotees in this mission. So we will stop here. Jai Gurandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Nitai Gaur Premanand.